Welcome in. It's the Face Mask Podcast. Nick Payne, going solo on this one. I gotta talk about Carson Wentz. I decided I was going to let the dust settle a little bit following the trade. I was going to take the weekend, let all the crazies air out their dirty laundry, let all the networks, all the platforms talk about Wentz. Took a backseat to all of that until now. For the purpose of what we do and the content we bring, I am going to primarily focus on what the trade means for fantasy. So if you're looking for another conversation about solely relying on, is Wentz good? Is he a good quarterback? Can he play in the NFL? What are his prospects moving forward? Are the Colts going to be a good team with him? I'm not going to get into all of that specifically. Naturally, some information is going to come up. I'm going to, be pulling some stuff just to talk about what the fantasy prospects are for the Indianapolis Colts now that Wentz is the quarterback. But I'm going to try to steer the conversation to solely focus on fantasy. Wentz was not a good quarterback regardless of his environment. And I know it was not a good one. But all you have to do is take a look at the numbers. Wentz from a clean pocket. So when the line did stand up, and believe it or not, that happened more often in 2020 than you may think. He has declined every year since his breakout campaign in 2017. So no pressure, a pocket to work with, the opportunity to step up, make a read, make a throw. Wentz was dead last in 2020. Of all quarterbacks, Dwayne Haskins, Mitchell Trubisky, Drew Lock. I'm naming bottom of the barrel quarterbacks. Wentz was worse than all of them as far as on-target throwing percentage. So for anybody who wants to complain about his offensive line, guess what? When they did stand up on a play, Wentz wasn't delivering. Okay? His accuracy and efficiency are terrible detriments in his game. And as a quarterback, that's bad. People might want to complain about, well, the head coach wasn't good, the offensive game plan was bad, the play calling was stale, it was bad. Okay. How many times did we see Wentz kill at the line of scrimmage? He was making the read and he was killing the play, which means he was going to something different. He was audible into something different from the initial play, going to a different play, and yet still failed on seemingly every occasion to hit open receivers from a clean pocket. So if you want to blame the coaching staff and the play calling, that argument is looking weaker and weaker by the day. And if you want to blame the offensive line, well, the numbers back it up. Wentz has struggled from a clean pocket. So I'll be honest, I don't feel good about Indianapolis's pass catchers on a week-to-week basis moving forward. I think Wentz himself could continue to struggle, and I think that's going to trickle down to Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell, and if they sign anybody in free agency, because the Colts still have plenty of cap room if they wanted to add a wide receiver. Any of the tight ends. If they come back, Trey Burton, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, if any of them are to return. Wentz has leaned on tight ends in his career. So that's a good sign for if one or more of those guys are back. But again, I have major concerns about Wentz's accuracy. It's a steep decline from Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers today, retired, is a more accurate passer than Wentz. Rivers is a cerebral quarterback. Accuracy, efficiency, that's his game. That's what he can do. Wentz doesn't do that. And you may say that, okay, well, that's in place of maybe bigger plays. Again, Wentz has accuracy concerns, and he has deep ball accuracy concerns. Yes, he can throw it deep, and he often does look to throw it deep. But if the guy's not wide open, Wentz struggles making reads. It's why he led the league in sacks taken last year. Despite getting benched at the end of the season, he still led the league in sacks taken. And a lot of that was on Wentz. holding the ball too long, trying to wait for that perfect deep play to develop, for too much time. I don't know if it's lack of confidence in making the read or just not getting the ball out in time, but it's a combination of those things, and that's why he took a bunch of sacks. Now he goes to Indianapolis, and the line is better. The offensive line in Indy is better, but guess what? They just lost their left tackle to retirement. Anthony Costanzo is done. So now they bring in Wentz, who has accuracy concerns, took a ton of sacks, and is notorious for fumbling the football. Instead of throwing the ball away, Wentz tries to continue to make the play to his own detriment. And now the Colts have a hole to fill at left tackle. That's not a good combination right now. The Colts sorely need to address that spot when you have a quarterback with so many accuracy and efficiency issues. So I'm worried about Michael Pittman from a week-to-week basis. I think he's solid as a best ball pick because he will continue to have big weeks. But I don't think the consistency is going to be there this year because I just think Wentz is going to have down weeks. He's going to have down games. Zach Pascal, same to a lesser degree. Paris Campbell, if he's coming back from the injury he suffered, and hopefully he does. This is an interesting little wide receiver core, but I worry about their week-to-week efficiency. I think it's going to be high variance. I think it's going to be up and down. And a lot of that is going to be directly tied to how Wentz plays, which will be up and down at best. So I'm worried about Indianapolis's pass catchers. To that point, I am officially concerned about Nyheim Hines as a late round pass catching running back who was top 3 in the league last year from the position that routes run. Phillip Rivers checks the ball down. He utilizes his running backs in the pass game. Nyheim Hines was a great pick last year for that very reason. Now insert Wentz, and for that very reason, Hines is somebody that you should probably just entirely fade. Wentz does not check the ball down. It's not really a part of his game. He doesn't throw to running backs. About 15% of the time. It's about a 5% difference from what Rivers typically does. Rivers checks it down to running backs about a fifth of the time. Wentz less so. So the late round appeal for Hines, it's not what it was compared to last year. I'm expecting pretty significant drop in catches, for targets and catches for Nyheim Hines. Now, I haven't addressed the big name yet, and that's Jonathan Taylor. I'm not worried about Taylor. He's a bell cow. You're drafting him for his rushing upside anyway. That's what he does. Still worth a high pick. I would say maybe a low first-round pick. If I had to decide between him and drafting somebody, in that 5-6 spot in the first round, I might pivot. I'm sorry, I'm not a huge believer in Carson Wentz and his ability, or lack thereof. So maybe Taylor bumps down a couple spots in the first round for me, but the rushing upside and appeal is still there. He may only catch 15, 20 balls for the season, but you're not drafting a Jonathan Taylor for his receiving upside. It's all about what he can do in the ground game. That being said, he's still a low first round talent, but I do think I would drop him a little bit. I don't think I would take him in the middle of the first round, maybe a little bit closer to the end, but should still be a good return on investment. Taylor is excellent. The line is still strong. Again, they need a left tackle, but the interior of that line is strong, and Taylor will continue to pay dividends. So I'm not worried about Taylor. Right now, today, Michael Pittman is their wide receiver 1. I would take him in the middle rounds of a best ball, but I don't think right now I would endorse taking Michael Pittman in season-long fantasy leagues. The week-to-week inconsistency is probably something you're going to have to deal with a guy like Pittman this year. So I don't mind taking him in best ball when I don't have to predict the boom-bust weeks. But today, right now, season-long, I am fading him. Same goes if you have any interest in Zach Pascal. I can't imagine Paris Campbell gets drafted this year coming off of a gruesome injury. And again, if the Colts sign a free agent wide receiver, by default, I'm going to be less enthused about whoever that is, even if it's a top flight guy, even if it is Allen Robinson, even if it is Chris Godwin. I'm going to bump those guys down a little bit. Now, Robinson is a stud wide receiver one, and honestly, Godwin is too if he gets the correct opportunity. So they're not going to get significant downgrades, but especially in the case of Godwin, it's going to be a quarterback downgrade from what he had previously been working with. Robinson, maybe not, but there are going to be a few more concerns if a top flight guy goes to Indianapolis. And then that would subsequently bump guys like Pittman down even further, maybe another round or so, which would again make him even more appealing in best ball, but I think I would still be out on him in season-long leagues. Same goes for the tight ends. Same goes for Nyheim Hines. I'm not enthused about this Colts offense, really, outside of Jonathan Taylor. This is going to be a downgrade from Phillip Rivers at quarterback. And all this goes to say, the ship has officially sailed on me selling Carson Wentz in fantasy. I can't do it. Now, he's probably not going to get benched this year. This is going to be a situation where no matter what happens, Indianapolis is going to ride this wave. They feel like they have a team that can compete, so they're going to roll with the guy that they traded assets for. I don't see Wentz getting benched this year. He's going to have to be colossally bad, which, guess what? He proved in 2020 that he could be colossally bad. Could it happen? Sure. But I do feel like it's less likely. I think the current environment he is in boosts his chances of playing the whole season. Indianapolis, I have to imagine they're not going to be drafting a quarterback high in the draft. They have needs on the offensive line, and they may want to try to draft a young player on offense as well. I'm thinking a wide receiver. But I think the environment is set up where Wentz will play this year. So the benching is not as much of a threat, but just based on performance, especially over the past couple of years, I can't endorse Wentz. Not for fantasy. No. Look elsewhere for your QB2. In Dynasty, I would honestly try to see if you could use this environment as a favorable situation to sell him. Sell him for whatever you can get. A draft pick, a young player. If you can get a young receiver for Wentz in Dynasty, do it. And that's about where his trade value ends. He's not going to be a trade value in keeper, even in a super flex keeper league. I can't imagine he's got any trade appeal. And in redraft, I don't believe he gets drafted. So, can't endorse Wentz. I can only endorse Pittman in best balls. And outside of that, I'm not super excited about this receiving crew because they are going to be playing with a quarterback downgrade in 2021. So, with that, tell me what you think. Drop a comment why you think this Indianapolis offense might be better than how I feel for their 2021 prospects, or if you're in agreement, let me know. Would love to hear what everybody's thoughts are on this topic. This is the Face Mask Podcast. I am Nick Payne. Thanks for listening.